Hi YouTube. Right, okay, today we're going to talk about astrology is gardening for the soul. I was doing a reading today and I came up with this analogy and I thought this is so, I don't know, I guess it was a download. I guess it was some inspiration, but it's really helped explain to me the different, why the whole thing about fate and free will and, is astrology divination, and all this kind of stuff. So here we go. So somebody actually put in the comments, when I was saying about I don't like doing predictions, that what's the point if you don't do predictions? So what's the point of it? But there's a difference between forecasting and predictions. And it goes like this, right? Okay, so we are the earth, and like our soul, our body is the earth, right? The people on our natal chart are the seeds and the plants in our life. So, we could choose what to put in our earth, in our little garden. And then again up a hill, then the transits is the weather, and the gardener is free will. So does that make sense? I shall explain. I'll give you an example then. So I was doing a reading for this client, and he was asking some, basically for some predictions, like, is my business going to do this? Is it going to be successful? All this kind of stuff. The normal thing you get as an astrologer. And I said, well, the thing is, he was working himself to the ground. He was absolutely working. He wasn't like, if his business wasn't a success, it wasn't because of any lack of effort. Like, he was working all the time. And he was getting to the point where he's burnt out now. And he'd been doing that for 5 years. And, so it's like we're all like that. Like, when do we call it quits when it comes to things like business? Anyway, so what he was basically doing was overworking the soil. Like, and I was saying, it doesn't matter how good your transits are, or even how bad they are, but you can't grow plants if your soil has no nutrition in it. It's like, that we have to rest. Nature tells us that we have to rest for winter. And sometimes, when Saturn transits come along, it's not about working hard. It's actually about resting, taking things slow. So you have to know, as your free will, the gardener has to know how to, to do this, how to navigate it. So you can have, you're only as good as the transits can only be as good as the soil that you are working with, and that has to be pure. It can't be toxic, it can't be overworked and sucked of all its nutrients. You've got to feed it. So let's start at the beginning. So we have our soil, right? In order for it to grow nice things, to grow good plants, it has to be, the free will has to water it and look after it. You have to make sure that it's getting the right amount of food and water, and it's not being poisoned in any way. Like, for example, if you're, this applies to even like healers. Like, if you're trying to heal someone who's got a drinking problem, and you're giving them certain nutrition supplements to take, or food to eat, or diet that they should be doing, but they're still drinking a bottle of wine at night, they're not going to get better. And this is when the client will say, oh, well, you told me these tablets aren't working, what you're doing isn't working. No, because the soil can't, you're only as good as the soil. And that's the thing as well. It's like, if you make predictions, you don't know what your client is doing to the soil every day. So you can't make predictions. How can you possibly make predictions like that? Now, the thing is, some people can make predictions because if they know the client quite well, and they know that this client is constantly poisoning their soil, that they're always having bad relationships, that they're letting lots of weeds grow in their garden, that all the people around them are sucking the life out of them, they can make a pretty solid prediction that in 6 months' time you're going to crash. When Saturn comes along, it's going to bring up, it's going to challenge you, and you're going to fall because you're already overwhelmed by the awful relationships you're having, the fact that you've let your health go and you're overworked. So you can make a pretty good prediction then. Now, or you don't even have to know about planets and just say, oh, well, in 6 months' time you're going to crash anyway because of the life you're leading. So, some of that's just intuition. And you know that with yourself, you're going on past behaviour, you're making a calculated prediction that this person is going to, experience this in whatever, a year's time. If you see that there's someone who is, she's like, say, she's had a drinking problem, but now she's really working to stop it, she's detoxed, she's really making an effort, you could say, you know what, and they're also working on themselves so that they can have good relationships. You can probably say that in about 6 months' time, once you've done all that work, you'll probably attract a really good relationship into your life and say, you know what, you're going to get married in 3 years or 2 years, and that's it. Because, again, you can make a prediction based on their behaviour and how they are, how their soil is, and the fact that the gardener is good. It's a good gardener. They're taking care of their soil. The plants they're planting they're not weeds. They're nice plants. There's so many plants they're planting that there's no void there. There's no empty part. They've got a full life of lovely people who are treating them well. There's no opportunity for weeds or anything negative to grow. It's the horses. So they're going to probably do all right. Yes, that was a point I was going to make. What was it? What was it now? About the relationships in your life. Yes. So natal chart as well is important. So what cards you've been dealt. Now, again, I'm not, as I've always said, don't blame your difficult squares in your chart, your natal chart, for bad things happening in your life, because what they are in your chart is just difficult flowers, right? Like, like if you have a garden, things will grow by themselves, like daisies will grow by themselves. You don't need to actually be a good gardener to grow daisies or even mint. Once it gets started, it goes crazy. Hello, my little horsey. Here we go, there's a horsey there. Hello. Okay, so yeah, sorry, distraction. So the difficult transits in your house, in your chart, are like growing an orchid or something that really takes a lot of work to grow. But when it grows, once it's been mastered, it's the most beautiful, astounding, gorgeous planets, see? That and you'll be glad that you actually made the effort to grow this plant, because now everyone's looking at your garden going, wow, how did you grow that orchid? Well, yeah, it was I put so much work into it. It was knackering. It was hard, but now it's this gorgeous thing. And then somebody else has got a garden, it's just full of wildflowers like these. And that's all right, that's fine, But if you want to cultivate things and make them really, really like a work of art, you have to put some time into it. But so getting given a square Like say, for example, Mars square Neptune. Like that is a freaking orchid, that one. Now you could just like, oh, I'm not going to actually, I think I'll just grow a freaking marijuana plant. Or I'll grow, I don't know, some sort of druggy plant instead. And it'll be there for like not that long, and then I'll just smoke it, and then I'll smoke it all, and then I'll be too stoned to look after the rest of the garden. The rest of the garden's going to just die, you know, because of this one plant that I went over the top with. So you see what I mean? It can be, squares can overtake your life. You can focus on them too much, and and then neglect the rest of your garden because it was too much. You just got stoned on your square, rather than make it a work of art. So I think that's why I think artists tend to have a lot of squares like that in their charts. Because and it's a gift. It's an absolute gift. But it is, it's tough. It's tough in the beginning to make it grow because it doesn't happen by itself. You have to water it. You have to nurture it. You have to make sure it's not attracting slugs. Slugs. Who are the slugs in your life? Yeah, So this nature thing. I mean, I think I've got in touch with this because I'm growing lettuce in my garden, and it did make me think. Yeah, I have organic soil and. It's only as good as the soil that it grows in, and all that kind of stuff. And we've had crazy weather, so I've had to put an umbrella over it because it was wilting in the 30-degree heat. So I don't think it's supposed to grow lettuce in subtropical whatever weather that we've been having. So does that make sense? I think I've covered everything. So the soil is you. Is your body, is your physical body, and the soil is you and your physical body. The plants in the soil are your natal chart, the cards you've been dealt, and the thing is, you don't have to stick to just your chart. That's what you're given, right? That's what you're given at birth. So these would be good things to put in your garden. These are good lessons that you really need to learn this life. But you can always buy more. You're the gardener, you have free will. You can say, I want to start growing, I've grown this really challenging orchid. I think I want to grow some more, so I'm going to go and get some more. And then you've got your progressions that also add extra things to options for you to grow as well. Like, there's some easy ones here that you could just put in the corner, and you don't have to do much, and you can pick and mix. So there you go. What was the other thing? So then, and the free will obviously is your free will. That's what God gave us to nurture this garden with. Now, that's the thing. If you don't use your free will, you can just say, well, like this, let go and let God. All this stuff, this nature, no one's really tending to it, and it will grow by itself, because probably the soil's all right as well. If the soil is good, if you're someone like, say you're someone who just keeps very healthy, you're not really into spiritual development much, but you eat healthy, you have a nice family, you just do the basic earth life. You go to church or something, I don't know, but you're basically not abusing yourself in any way. You don't really have to know about astrology to grow quite a nice garden, because your soil is all right, you've got free will, you're looking after your family, you're looking after your body, and things will grow in it, Now, I think usually the people who go for astrology are people who are having trouble with their free will, with toxic relationships, and maybe they were born with soil that needs some work, that was already sucked dry by parents who were abusive to them. So they need some help. They need to help to sort out the whole thing. Like, how does it all work? How do I grow this garden? When is the weather going to be good? Now, we haven't talked about the weather much. So the planets are the weather. So Shall I sit down? No, I'm not going to do that. I will sit down. So this is the thing with the transits. Then, it is helpful. Oh no, there's flies. Oh, this is no good, is it? It is helpful to know what the weather's going to be, obviously, because when you're looking after your garden, like I already said, like it was hot weather, which is great, you know, at least it's getting the sun. But if you don't keep an eye on it, the sun will make, I've got to start walking, those are annoying. The sun will make your lettuce limp. So the same thing is like if there's a transit from Jupiter, actually. So Jupiter's quite a good analogy for really, I don't know where to go. Yeah, for too much sun. If you're not careful with Jupiter, you can overdo it. And so, free will say, all right, I'm not going to party every night. I don't have to. And yeah, I think that's enough. Have I explained it all? But you get my point. So there is a difference between forecasting is knowing what the weather will be like to really help. If you want to create an absolutely stunning garden, it's kind of useful. It's useful to have astrology to sort of help you along the way. But most of the time, we don't look at the weather when we're doing gardening. I don't. I mean, I look, it's a sunny day, but I don't know the intricacies of how many hours of sun it's going to be, how long it's going to rain for. You just basically have a rough idea about it. And as long as you're doing the basics, it can sort of look after itself. Now, if you're having problems with your garden, then you might need, that's the thing, you might need some help. And then any little extra help from the planet, like knowing when the weather's going to be good to give it that extra boost that it might need, is useful. So that's the thing, it's your free will as the gardener. Do you want to use astrology to sort of boost things? Or if you're feeling vulnerable, you also want to know when if you're feeling vulnerable, you don't want to be going out in a storm. Like if you're freaking someone who's really, really athletic and you can survive Saturn, you don't care, you don't really need an astrologer because you're strong enough as it is. Your plants are really hardy, they'll grow in anything, So it's all individual, it's case by case. But there is a purpose for astrology, and I'm glad I've realised. I know. I've been doing this for 10 years, and it's been bothering me. But now I know it all makes sense to me, and it can work side by side with the religion thing as well. Because now, where does God fit into all this? I think God works with your free will. God is the gardener. He co-gardens with you, and he's a bit of an expert. He or she is an expert, whereas you're kind of not. So yeah, it's like a helping hand in the garden, I guess, with the free will if you want it. And knowing the weather, or is God the weather? I don't know. Anyway, I think it makes sense anyway to me. I think the important thing is we are the earth. The earth is very, very important in all this, and you're only your flowers, where are they? Are only as good as the earth it's in. All right then. So I'll give you an update on my religion. So I've been to confession, but I've actually been, after 40 years of not going at all, I've been twice in a month because I missed Mass 2 weeks ago because I was hungover. That's so lame. So I had to go to confession to say, I missed Mass, so I could go have communion this Sunday. But it's been good. It's been really good. And I was lame because I was hungover, and normally I would have gone, but it was also like 30 degrees and I didn't want to cycle up a really high hill. Anyway, so I'm okay again now. All right then. Okay, I'll leave it there. Thanks for listening. Bye.